Woo, right? Okay, so I'm gonna actually kind of sit over here. Make sure we have a little copy. How where were you last week? I missed you. What was that? Soccer?
Yeah, I had a whole tournament. Yeah.
Go.
It was pretty good. We won our first game 4-1, and then our second game we won 5-1, and then in the third game we drew 1-1, and then the fourth game was the semifinals, and
Nice.
that was the game where we won 5-1, I think. Then in the finals we lost 2-1.
You made it to the finals?
Yeah, then we lost.
Hey, everybody, did you hear that? You made it to the finals. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I think this is a nice, fun way to end the year.
Yeah.
Right. So if you did not complete a class week 1, which was how to essays,
I did that.
Okay, week 2 is traditions. I just downloaded it last night. So it is recorded Zoom class is ready to go. You can do it today if you want, or in the next few days. Okay. I'm recording this morning and I will download it today. Yay. It's a different way of doing this. This is new for me. I created my own YouTube channel. Isn't that weird? I know. It's woo. I don't know how I feel about it either. So today, last week, we did a personal narrative. How often do I do those? Nope. And they're really important, Siddharth, for a lot of reasons. I learn a lot about students from personal narratives. When you have to do these when it counts, college essays. So you do have to know how to do them. The number one thing I'm going to catch on is first person. Yeah. Staying in first person. So I just went ahead and did another one. So this is kind of merging a descriptive and a narrative essay together. So remember, a narrative essay is true. It's true, okay? And so it should be based on fact. Can you embellish a little bit? Well, no one's going to know if you didn't, but I will tell you authenticity comes out, okay? So today we're going to talk about vacations. And the reason I did this is because I want to explain something that maybe a lot of you don't know, which is when I did my SAT class, I learned something then that kind of astonished me. And what I learned was sometimes it's just the planning of the vacation, not necessarily going on the vacation. So I'm going to give you some facts, and these facts are not in anything that you have, everybody. These facts are based on scientific evidence. So I always teach in my advanced class, how do you prove an argument? How do you prove something is valid? Well, you find information and statistics from credible sources, because I could tell you this was true, and you may or may not believe me, but if I give you research, you're going to go, oh, this Hensel looked it up, right? Okay, so I'm going to go back in time a little bit to 2002. The University of Surrey found people are happiest when they have a vacation planned. Apparently, just knowing something is coming makes us happier. It's that anticipation, right? So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 2010. This was published in the Journal of Applied Research of Quality of Life. It's not in there. It's not in there. You just got to listen. Just planning and anticipating a trip, you ready? Can make you happier than actually going on the trip. What? 2014. Cornell University research study found anticipation for traveling on a trip can increase happiness. You ready? Much more so than purchasing an item. So here's the interesting thing. If your parents want to give you a gift this Christmas, the best gift they can give you is a vacation, not an Xbox, not an expensive necklace. Because people talk more about their travel experience than something they bought or that was given to them. Matthew Killingsworth, a senior fellow at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, says, When we plan a trip, it encourages an optimistic outlook. Our minds actually start enjoying the trip before it even starts. Isn't this fascinating? The novelty and the uncertainty of a future trip piques our interest. Crazy, yes? So when your parents plan these trips, you're probably going, how are we going on all these trips? What is this about? Okay, well, there's a couple things. First of all, your parents need a break. They work hard. They need a break. So what if you can't, what if you can't afford these lavish trips? A staycation. So they say, go on a road trip for a couple days. Maybe just go to one of these, lights parks at the holidays. Go to the Gaylord and go to the ice rink or go see the ice exhibit, right? But do something that's different. So now I'm going to go to your packet, okay? So a little bit more information. American Express, do we trust that source? Would they know a lot about travel, American Express? Okay, so American Express finds that 76% of US consumers surveyed agree they instantly feel happier the moment they book a trip. Just booking the trip makes people happy. Okay, but no, the survey did not say people feel happier when they actually travel. Research has long shown that thinking about and working through the details of a trip, the anticipation before going, you ready? Brings more happiness than actually going. So what are some things that we would anticipate that would get you excited about a trip, Sid? Okay, so let's say hypothetically, just I'm throwing something out there. Your parents say, we're going to Universal. There's a new Star Wars exhibit. We're going to go, right? And you're like, cool, Eastman Park. What would you do ahead of time? What would you be thinking? Would you look up Universal and where this was? Would you look up the rides? And what if they said, we're going to stay at one of the hotels on the property? And I don't know if you know what that means. You stay in it. Okay, you get early in. Like you get in before all the other people get in, like 8 o'clock, right? If I remember correctly. And what if the hotel you're staying at is cool, right? I think when we went to Universal Studios, we stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel, which was cool because we love music. My son loves rock music. My husband loves rock music. So they just liked the cool place that we stayed. They looked up, okay, look where we're staying. We looked up, because Universal is real close to Disney. Should we go to Disney? Should we go to other things? Because have you noticed they're all kind of centrally located?
Yeah, we're actually planning on going to Universal. And then we're going to go to Universal and then we're going to get Disney and then London.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like, no way. How about that, everybody? Just kind of fell into my lap. So the happiness from being on vacation will wear off quickly. Once we get back, right? So have you noticed sometimes when you come back from a vacation, there's kind of a little bit of sadness, or it's kind of hard to get back into gear, right? So we're about to embark everybody on what, a 14-day break, a 15-day break. And it's exciting and you kind of get into this relaxed mode. And if you travel internationally, which a lot of my kids, if you're traveling internationally, there's that jet lag and it takes a couple of days to recover. When you travel internationally and you come back, how many days does it take for you to adjust? Really? So that's pretty good. And your parents, does it take them a little bit longer?
Yeah, for them it takes a little bit longer. One time I came back from India, I went to bed and I woke up at 4 a.m. like it was casual.
Yeah, you're a little off your internal clock a little bit. So what should you do? What is it about a trip that makes it special for kids? Well, in my family, it was really about creating memories for our kids. And remember I told you when we did our first week, everybody, about ornaments on the tree and why ornaments are so special to me, because wherever we traveled, we bought an ornament. That was just kind of a tradition that we set. Well, my kids are 24 and 27, Sid. We got a lot of ornaments on the tree from a lot of places. We have a stingray on the tree, and I will tell you all, that's not my favorite one. We were in the Bahamas, and we swam with the stingrays. And my daughter and I were like, like hyperventilating because no, I mean, like we went into the ocean. It wasn't in a tank. It was out there literally because that's a little scary. And when we went on our trip, I remember it was right after that Australian guy was killed by a stingray. Do you know what I mean? Whoa.
I also one time like we went to the Bahamas on the cruise, and like we also went like snorkeling, and it was also kind of scary. And like there were like jellyfishes, like big ones, like right next.
Nobody tells you about those little hiccup things on your trip, right? I love that you mentioned that. I'm going to go to the next page, everybody, which is page 2. Okay, so we know that we build memories on trips. We know that it builds excitement, right? How about this? Science explains that when you go on a vacation, you get smarter. What? So 50% of your education, ladies and gentlemen, comes from school. The other 50% comes from what your parents provide for you. Whether that's, structure, reading a lot. If you are a family of means and you're lucky enough to be able to travel to a lot of places, you actually are teaching your children some valuable skills, social skills, but really you're giving them this window into the world, into other cultures. So when you're planning a vacation, here's another article, 8 ways it can benefit you. Number 1, it literally aids in brain development. Okay, and my kids were always up for going anywhere, new adventures. They were gung-ho. I think my son and my daughter love to plan trips. But there's a science behind it. Dr. Margot Sunderland, child psychotherapist, says, a family vacation can actually provide a child with a rich learning environment because the brain is triggered by all of these new sensory explosions on their brain. When you experience a new place together, it actually increases a child's intelligent quotient, their IQ. Studies have shown children who travel make higher grades in school than those who don't. It creates strong family bonds. I don't think I have to tell you this. There's something about your mom and dad when they're on vacation. Are they stressed? Are they? Not as much. Even if they do get stressed by something, you don't have that stress of work so everyone's a little bit more relaxed, which means everyone's nicer. This is why your family bonds are a little bit stronger. It's really this time, the only time that you have uninterrupted conversations. I learned a lot about especially my high school and adult kids when we go on vacation, because we all slow down enough to hear each other and listen to each other. I will tell you something interesting. The next one says, keep stress at play. Professor Jacques Panksepp, neuroscientist at Washington State University, he says there's 2 brain systems, the play system and the seeking system. Holiday experiences activate both of them. We need this play activation, and then we need this seeking activation. So remember, I talk about dopamine a lot. Dopamine is your natural hormone. Not only dopamine, opioids, oxytocin, these are natural highs. So you do get kind of a high when you go on vacation, right? It's exciting because your body literally produces these things. Not only that, if you go on a vacation, it reduces blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your stress. Studies have shown 20 minutes in nature can improve concentration and attention of a child immensely. So for my boys that like nature, going out 20 minutes. So when you play soccer, Sid, that is triggering all these natural endorphins. Isn't that cool? Number 4, it brings out the inner explorer. Thinking about why you get smarter. You are going to a new place. So say you're in, I don't know, Greece, which is a very different culture, right? So are you trying different foods? Yeah. So you got to be open to different foods. And you're like, oh, I don't like this. Oh, this is interesting. I never would have tried this before. Do they have a different way of living? Right? What was I reading? I was on the news yesterday. In France, they don't even start their day until 10 a.m. They don't even start the workday until 10 a.m. That's not like us here. We're like up at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're ready to go, right? They don't even start. So, and cultures have kind of a different way. You know, if you go to Mexico, you got a siesta, you got a midday nap. And that's, I think in Denmark, they do that too. There's a break in the day. So a good vacation allows you to see different flora, fauna, people, relationships, maybe architecture, different history. There's so much to see. Last two, improves happiness. A research study by Family Holiday Association in the United Kingdom said 49% of those surveyed said their happiest memory was on their family vacation. Huh. Interesting. Provides valuable experiences. And that goes back to you're in these new places. So it actually says, we all cherish our relationships and they're essential for well-being and well-being of our kids. But here's what they say this Christmas. Are you ready? A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research said, experiential gifts are better, produce greater improvements, everybody hearing this, in relationship strength than material gifts. So what does that mean? Well, Sid, what it means is it's better for your parents to give you a holiday vacation than an Xbox, than a gift. That's crazy, right? And then the last one improves social skills. Yeah, if you're experiencing a different culture, a different lifestyle, different food, you see different people, maybe a different language, different habits, you're educated on the world's a big place. And just because I have a way of doing things doesn't mean my way of doing things is right. We learn by interacting and exploring with locals. Believe it or not, it improves your confidence, improves your social skills and interpersonal skills. And then finally, it helps children open up. As I said before, my adult children open up on vacation. Conversations just kind of naturally happen. So 97% of Indian teens felt that family vacations bring them close to their siblings. Do you feel like that with you and Auntie Ruth? That you get closer on vacation?
Yeah.
Because you're not, squabbling?
Yeah.
Competing for mom and dad? 69% said their favorite memories occurred on family vacation. So let's go to the next page, everybody. And this is where, when I said planning the vacation was more exciting sometimes than the actual vacation, and you probably were like, no way. Guess why? Because sometimes things can go just as planned. And that's in a perfect utopian world, right? We can have the ideal hotel accommodations. We can have just the most exquisite hotel. And that has happened to us. We've had some really good hotels. And sometimes when you book a hotel, even though it's rated, right, they can downgrade your reservation, give your room to somebody else. So sometimes that hotel accommodation really makes the trip. Agreed? Have you stayed in some really good places? Yes. Have you stayed in some? Okay, does where you stay matter?
Yes.
Okay, perfect weather. Let's be honest, we can't control the weather. Things happen, blizzards happen, rainstorms happen. We went on a Disney trip when my kids were little and a hurricane came in right prior. Now, the hurricane it wasn't like a category 5, it just brought in a lot of rain. So the entire time we were there for 5 days, it rained for 5 days at Disney. Now, we stuck our ponchos on and we went because we booked the trip, but is that ideal? No. Beautiful scenery and views. I think my favorite, well, Canada was gorgeous, but Utah, skiing Utah. When you get on that chairlift and you're at the top of the mountain, you see just the vast snow-capped mountains. You have just this awe, really, of nature. And I'm not a cold weather person, so skiing is not my favorite. Mountains are not my favorite. Give me a beach any day. Your flight takes off and lands on time, everybody. Everything goes as planned. In a perfect world, right? Maybe your in-flight experience is fantastic. No kid kicking the back of your chair, no screaming on the plane, right? And you have, I don't know, I like it when I have my own little movie. You know, and you don't get that on every plane, do you? You know what I mean? Where you get your own seat and you get your own little, and the movies are awesome. We can't always predict that. Delicious food at the restaurants with good service. We feel energetic and well the entire trip, no sickness. Nobody gets food poisoning. Nobody gets, if you've been on a cruise, there's rotavirus on a cruise. They're very careful, but because of close proximity, a lot of people get stomach bugs on cruises. Connecting with friends and family. Maybe you get to do something different. And maybe your siblings are a little bit nicer than they normally are. Do you find that true, Sid? Is Anirudh a little bit nicer? Are you? Okay. No fighting. Everyone gets along. It's relaxing and stress-free. Okay, so how many vacations has all of that happened?
Just a couple.
Not many, right? Because here's what usually happens, everybody. Something goes wrong. We can plan a trip to the nth degree, but we are not in control once we leave our house, which means the flight can be delayed or canceled. We can have bad weather, like I talked about on my trip with rain for 5 days. I'll tell you the good news about that. We went to the 4 different parks in Disney World, and we walked on every ride. Yes, it rained, but it kept the lines down, right? When we went back a few years later, you know, the long lines, you know, if you're planning your trip like you said you were, is long lines, is that kind of a downer, right? I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a downer. Long lines at the airport, a little bit of a downer. Rental car is wrecked or damaged, no air conditioning or heater. And that happened during the pandemic. People couldn't even get rent-a-cars. Something happened. Stomach flu, sickness, any kind of sickness will bum out your trip. An accident, you fall from a bike, a scooter, a surfboard, skis. I literally did this in the Bahamas. I had a motor scooter and I was on, you know, because it's the opposite side of the road, everybody. And I wasn't used to that. So here's my favorite word. I was discombobulated. And I went down with my daughter on the back, ripped up my knee, scrapped up. And we were on a cruise at the time. And I had to get checked by the medical people to even board the cruise. They were taking pictures of me because of my accident. And we barely made it back to the cruise ship on time. We did. Your car breaks down on the road trip, flat tire, you run out of gas, which can happen. Your suitcase is lost. Your luggage is missing items. People do steal things. Maybe you forget to pack something. What's the number one thing you think people forget to pack? A lot of people said charger, by the way, everybody. Toothbrush. What's an intimate thing? Do you know what the number one intimate thing people forget to pack? Underwear. Okay, you can get a toothbrush, everybody, and you can probably get a charger, but you can't get underwear, right? I mean, just saying. You're seasick on the boat ride. There's a medical emergency. The hotel has lost your reservation. Maybe there's not a vacancy. Maybe they've downgraded your reservation. You fail to make it back to the cruise ship on time. You lose something, your wallet, your credit card, your passport. Somebody told me this week their dad lost their passport. Maybe the keys to the car. I actually had my phone stolen in the Bahamas. Don't know if you know this. People, there are, you know, people that take advantage of travelers who are not paying attention. Literally took it right out of my purse at a restaurant. I was taking care of my kids. Stranded in an unknown area. This has not happened to me, but somebody told me that. Taking the wrong train or bus. This is nationally or internationally. And I'm going to get you to take a mask because I'm not wearing one for my online class, and that's about the 3rd time. Cool? Cool. And you're making me nervous. I've not been sick until now. So I'm really nervous that you're coughing so much. And I'm going to give you a cough drop. They taste good, don't worry. They're cherry and they're not like hot, or you know what I mean? So it will help with the cough. Trust me.
I just put it on the
Yeah. And if you need a water, so that thing. Better?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And throwing up in the rental car, my son actually did this. And guess who had to clean it up? Well, it wasn't him. Okay, so here's what we're going to do that's fun. And I want to make it clear, this is the perfect essay to practice, if you've never done them before, leads and conclusions. This essay sets you up perfectly, okay? So a great lead would talk about planning the vacation. So this is going to be first person and descriptive. So planning a vacation. What do you do, Sid, when you plan a vacation?
I like do the things that I like.
Okay, so let's say you're going to Universal and Disney. What would you look up ahead of time?
All like the rides, like the different hotels there.
Right, and where you were staying maybe?
Yeah.
Would you plan what to pack? Like look at the weather maybe ahead of time? Because right now it's a little cool at night. And I've heard Disney is just fantastic at Christmas. Just beautiful and magical, right? A little warm during the day though, so you may have to layer. So that's good to kind of, but it's so exciting, right? That would be what you would do in the lead, everybody. You know, what would you, knowing that your parents planned something, even if it was a staycation, even if it was a lights thing or the Gaylord, what would you do to kind of plan ahead, right? So it makes sense to talk about pre-planning the trip. Maybe talk about your anticipation and your excitement. Because sometimes, can we be honest, Sid, are you more excited about planning than actually what happens on it? Yeah. Okay. So here's our thesis, everybody. We're going to have 2 body paragraphs. The first body paragraph is going to talk about when you took a trip and everything went well. And what was the trip that was the best trip ever? Okay, and you're going to describe and kind of narrate that. So I'm going to go to the body paragraphs first, and then I'm going to go to the thesis. So body 1, one of my favorite vacations I enjoyed with my family was going to blank. You fill in the blank, you pick the topic, because I have not been on your family vacations, because every part of the trip went smoothly. We've all been on a trip that everything just fell into place. So you're going to tell me in detail this past trip. You're going to tell me who went on the trip, what were the highlights, where was the destination, when did you go? That's a typo, everybody. How did you travel, and why was this the best trip ever? Okay, so I want you to go to the back side. This is where the essay is. And I'm going to just give you an example of my trip, the best trip ever. We visited the island of Maui in Hawaii, and every part of the trip went smoothly. I've been to Hawaii 3 times. I've been to Oahu, I've been to Kauai, I've been to the Big Island. I've never been to Maui. This trip was planned fairly quickly right after my dad passed away. It was a spur of the moment. We all needed to feel joy again after my dad's long battle with cancer. So my adult daughter was 19 and my adult son was 21, and they both were allowed to bring a friend. Once that was coordinated, I mean, it was constant conversations, excitement, the hotel we were staying at, what outfits we were bringing, what excursions we were going on. After a long flight where there were no delays, we arrived on the island of Maui. The resort was incredible, breathtakingly modern, top of the line, all the amenities, beyond my expectations. We had this suite on the first floor, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a giant kitchen, a living area, and we have a wall of doors. They were an accordion that was like a corner, and you could literally open the accordion doors and your entire living room was looking at palm trees and the ocean. And I was like, every morning I woke up to that with my jaw dropped. I could see the extraordinary blue of the ocean through the majestic palm trees. Just a few steps out the door and my feet touched the warm sand. I felt the warm breeze blow on my face. And every morning I woke up to this breathtaking view of colors. So I go on to just describe this fantastic trip. Now, you really kind of want to just do the highlights, but you get the point. Body 2, one of my least favorite vacations with my family was going to blank, because during parts of the trip, everything seemed to go wrong. Now, not everything goes wrong, but just enough things go wrong. Do you know what I mean? So one of my least favorite vacations was going on a beach trip to Galveston, because during parts of the trip, everything seemed to go wrong. My family had rented a house the previous year during 2020. Remember, this is pandemic. We had a wonderful time on the beach. This is why we decided to go back in 2021, because it was still that uncertain period. This time, the drive down was stressful. My son drove separately in a car with his friend. He had a flat tire. This meant my husband and daughter and I, who were in the car with my 2 golden retrievers, had to stop to help them. This unintended stop meant we all arrived later than planned, a bit stressed out and starving. We were all too frazzled to cook. We ordered pizza from a local restaurant, but turned out to be the worst pizza we'd all ever tasted. Ladies and gentlemen, that pizza was so bad. I remember it. Like, it was like cardboard. We were all like, we should have just made sandwiches for all this, right? Undeterred, we decided to try to make the best of it. There were some fun moments, but there were just too many hiccups during the vacation that threw everything off. My 2 dogs found jellyfish lying on the sand and they tried to eat it. This is dangerous and can kill them. So I had to call my sister, who's a vet, who made me panic, run to the store to get Benadryl. She told me if I did not act fast, my dogs would asphyxiate and die. Just word to the wise, take Benadryl with you on a trip. This meant, and I had to go to 5 different places to find Benadryl. And time was ticking. I had to be more careful with my dogs on the beach instead of letting them run loose. And to make matters worse, it rained 2 of the 5 days we were there, which brought in a massive swarm of mosquitoes, which bit us mercilessly despite being covered in bug spray. I will never forget this trip because it felt like too many things went wrong and were beyond our control. Okay, so you get the point. Great one, not so great one. Again, did I tell you who was there? What happened? Where? When? How? Why? So here is your thesis. Every time my family planned to go on a trip, I felt excitement. But sometimes the trip went as planned, body 1, and sometimes it was a total disaster, body 2. It was never like a total disaster, but not great. Restated thesis. I anticipate having a wonderful time whenever my family plans to go on a trip. However, I'm always surprised when a trip goes smoothly because more often than not, events happen, which makes it difficult to enjoy. Okay, final thing here. Everyone is responsible for a conclusion. It's logical, everybody. It makes sense when you arrive home from a trip. We're playing catch up, right? The idea here is to get back to normal, right? We've got laundry, all this clothes and stuff we had on our trip has to get cleaned. We maybe struggle with fatigue, right? Especially if you've traveled internationally, a little jet lag. Maybe just that relaxed mindset, you have to kick back into gear. Like, oh my God, I gotta go back to school. And I gotta get back, I gotta wake up early again. I gotta go to, soccer. I gotta go to school. It takes a few days to adjust. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so this is the one essay. Every single student tries a lead and a conclusion. If you haven't done them before, this is a good one to try. Last thing I'm gonna say, this is a first person descriptive narrative, kind of a combination, okay? Make sure you stay in first person. I, me, my, myself, these should be the predominant pronouns. You can use we, our, and us, but if you're using we, our, and us too much, you're getting away from me. Does that make sense? Got it? All right, you're good to go. Sound like you're a little stiff. You okay?
No, it's just, yeah.
Did you get the flu? Did you get anything? You may have just exposed me, Sid, but it's all right. I've made it this far. All right, you're good to go, sweetie. Do we need to print anything? Or are you behind?
I finished the story for the creative writing.
Did you send me that?
Yeah.
And did I?
Long.
Well, let's print that out. Okay, let me talk to Rowan here. I'll meet you in there. Rowan, are you online? Are you here?
Yeah, Miss Hudson.
I didn't see you come in until like 9:30.
Sorry, I had a class before this.
Okay, well, sweetie, I just recorded it. So I'm going to end my recording. So you can just see the recording if you want to, if you can't come next week.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the recording to find the early.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording right now, but you are welcome. I will post it later this afternoon when I get home, okay?
Okay.
All right, sweetie, have a good one. Happy vacation to your family.